Everybody, Pierre Quinn here, and I teach leaders like you how to courageously begin the journey to personal and professional transformation. And in this video, I want to talk to you about how leaders should respond in the middle of tragedy. So, let's go. This is my first time recording a video like this, and I want to be very careful and very delicate in how I share this perspective, because I know for a lot of people it's going to be a very, very touchy subject right now. I'm recording this video on Tuesday, August the 4th, and across the news media today, we were notified about an explosion that happened in Beirut. The government has stored highly explosive materials at the blast scene on the Lebanese capital's waterfront. Extensive damage was reported around the city, and hospitals were overwhelmed with victims. At least 70 people were killed and 3,700 injured, the health ministry said. Lebanon's health ministry said that at least 70 people had died and 3,700 suffered injuries in the explosions and fire that shook Beirut on Tuesday. The numbers climbed steadily through the day, and with the wounded still streaming into hospitals and the search for missing people underway, they were likely to go higher still. So first, thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Beirut in dealing with this tragedy. And second, I don't want to even pretend to know a lot about this part of the world and anything about how this could possibly have happened. I do want to offer some insight about how leaders can respond, and in many cases they should respond when they experience tragedy. Now, part of me said, record this video several days later, let some time pass, get some more clarity before you offer this video. And I realized as leaders, that's a lot of the mistakes that we make. We've had so much happen in our life around the world. We're dealing with COVID. We're dealing with racial tensions and injustices. We're dealing with police brutality. We're dealing with economic disparity. We're dealing with ridiculous unemployment rates. The truth is, many of us have stumbled in our leadership because we've waited so long before we've responded. We've waited so long before people have heard from us. We have waited so long before we've said anything, and we've missed opportunities to be there when our people need us the most. So can you imagine in this Beirut context, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you run a business close to where this explosion has taken place. Maybe you're an administrator at a school. Maybe you run a manufacturing plant. Maybe you provide leadership at a hospital or a church. In some capacity, you have responsibility, and you know that your people have been touched by this tragedy. It's not just Beirut. A lot of us are dealing with people who right now are in the midst of tragic situations. And there are so many tragedies taking place around the world that we're just not mindful of. It seems like sometimes the news media only gives us a snapshot. Right now, they feel like their lives are being turned upside down. I mean, this has sort of been the moniker of 2020. So how can you respond? Number one, it's very important for you as a leader to process your emotion. I need you to take some time to pause, to reflect, maybe even write down how you're feeling. What are your emotions? Take some time to look up the vocabulary of emotions. Are you embarrassed? Are you frustrated? Are you enraged? Are you disappointed? Are you saddened? Do you feel lost, or do you feel overwhelmed? This presents an opportune time for you to find that confidant, that friend, that spouse, that support person, and take a few moments to talk with them about what you're feeling. Take some time to process these emotions and begin to work through them. This is important because when you show up and when you start to communicate with the people who need to hear from you, they need you to display emotion, but they don't need your display of emotion to be so great that you are rendered ineffective in that moment. So if you need to cry, take that moment to cry. If you need to scream, take that moment to scream. Whatever you need to do to begin to process emotions and release some tension, do that so that when you show up and start to engage your people, you're doing it with a sense of emotional stability. The second thing that's really important as it relates to being there as a leader for your people in the midst of a tragic situation is I need you to gather information. I need you to gather as much information as you can. I need you to check multiple resources. If you have people you can call and get some clarity, be sure to do that. There are many times in the middle of tragic situations that as leaders, we make the situation worse because we have not gathered enough information to provide a sense of clarity. Whatever fact checking, whatever insight, whatever research you need to do, begin to gather that research, begin to aggregate that data so that you can have a better picture of what has transpired. The third thing that's important is you need to begin to make some notes about how you're going to respond. Begin to take some notes. I know some of us are very good at extemporaneous speaking. That means we're very good at talking off the top of our heads and we don't need a lot of notes to get that done. And some of us love a manuscript. We want everything written out word for word. Wherever you fall into the spectrum, be sure to take some notes. Now, this is important because in certain moments as you're attempting to explain things, and if you're an extemporaneous speaker, maybe emotion catches you in that moment and you lose your train of thought or sense of direction. But having notes and even full manuscript, if that works for you, having the notes provides you a sense of direction. It also reminds you of what to follow up on in the future. Okay, insight number 4 of helping your people and responding in tragic situations is practice your response. Practice talking to people. Practice a phone call or maybe even a press conference. Practice what your response will be, especially if it's the case where you're going to have to give this response multiple times. It will allow you to speak with greater clarity. It can even show you where in some of the things you're planning to share, things may be a bit nebulous and you will want to work on clearing up before you share them. Number 5, you need to pick your main distribution channel. For some of us, this is a bit easier because people will come to you specifically looking for your response and they will broadcast that response far and wide. But if you don't work for an organization like that or have that level of platform, you need to decide how you're going to begin to communicate what you have to share with your people. Is that going to be an email? Is that going to be a text message? Maybe it's a one-call system where you record a voicemail and it's sent to the phone numbers of everyone who's a part of your organization. Whatever it is, pick your main distribution channels for information and craft the message to fit that particular channel. You'll have to decide what's going to work best: written, audio, video, live updates on social media. But whatever it is, pick a main distribution channel and prepare to stick with that particular channel. Insight number 6 on how to help your people navigate difficult circumstances is you need to be visible. Like, one email is not enough. One text message is not enough. One voicemail is not enough. One video is not enough. Your people are going to need you to be visible. In difficult situations, people look to their leaders for guidance and direction. And it's important for you to be visible. It's important for people to have this understanding that you are doing the very best job that you possibly can to help them navigate what's going on. But you can't do that by being silent. You can't do that by being absent. You have to be visible. No one's saying you have to be an expert. No one's saying you have to have all the answers. No one's saying that you have to have a clear plan of action at the very outset. But what is important for your people to see you, for your people to hear from you, for your people to know that you are concerned. And here's the last insight as it relates to helping your people navigate difficult times. You have to update often. It's very important to update often. As you continue to gather information, as you continue to take notes, as you continue to get more insight and more clarity, please update your people so that they know what's going on, so that they know how to respond, so that they know what to do next. So it's very important. Again, our thoughts and our prayers go out to the people in Beirut, and our thoughts and our prayers go out to the people around the world who are dealing with some very, very tragic times right now. And my thoughts and prayers go out to you as leaders, as you're helping people navigate these difficult times. And remember, as a leader, you might be the only voice of reason. You might be the only voice of clarity. You might be the only voice of hope. You might be the only voice of promise. You might be the only voice of comfort that some of your people hear. And that's why it's so important that when tragedy strikes, when difficult times arise, when you hit rough patches in life and when worlds are turned upside down, that you as a leader respond to the tragedies of the day. Your people need to have the assurance from you as a leader that you'll do everything that you can to make sure that we get through this together.